While eating piccati, I suddenly found a note inside it. Look carefully, the killer's about to come. At first, I thought it was some prank by my younger sister, but the next moment, the door of the house suddenly opened. Seeing this, a fear ran through my mind. Had my sister deliberately called someone to scare us? Just then, my mother put down her chopsticks and looked towards the door in surprise. How did the door open? I will go and see. At that moment, a bad feeling arose in my mind. I immediately told them, crying, don't go. If there's a bad guy outside, don't say anything stupid. Maybe it's Uncle Sharma from the neighborhood? His son didn't come home for New Year's this year. He's alone. The poor guy must be very sad. With that, my mother slowly started toward the door. My sister, sitting next to me, pursed her lips and said nonchalantly, brother, you get too scared. I didn't respond. My eyes were fixed on the door. An ominous feeling was rising in my heart. I immediately grabbed my sister's hand and pulled her away, hiding her behind the sofa. What are you doing? My hand is hurting. Be quiet. Don't move. Before I could finish, a painful scream came from outside. We both recognized it clearly. It was my mother's. Then a man entered. He looked like a bandit. He wore a mask and held a large knife. We both froze in fear, unable to move. He caught sight of the 3 pairs of plates on the table. He laughed coldly and headed straight for the bedroom. I whispered, if you can save even one, do so. Ria, run quickly. Hearing this, Ria quickly ran towards the door. But before I could even get up, I heard her scream. Ria raised her head and looked at me with disbelief. Then she went completely still. That's when I realized the killer already knew our hiding place. Then he came behind the sofa and, with one blow after another, killed me too. The next moment, I sat up screaming and looked around in panic. Mother and Ria were both in front of me. I immediately touched my chest. There was no wound. Everything was as before. What was happening? How did I come back to life? Is this a dream or have I been reborn? Trembling, I picked up another dumpling. It was just as I'd imagined. The same note was hidden inside it. Look carefully. The killer is coming. The words were exactly the same. But I didn't pay attention. Why was I told to look at it? Shouldn't I have tried to escape first? Suddenly, something came to my mind. I waved the slip in front of my mother and Ria, but they both continued eating as if they hadn't seen anything. I couldn't believe it. I held the slip up to them. Can you see the words on this? Ria looked at me strangely and said, brother, what are you waving? Why are you acting stupid? Mother said, yes, Rohan, you don't have anything in your hand. I was stunned. Am I the only one seeing this slip? There was no time to think. I took a deep breath and tried to calm myself. Don't panic. He's coming again. It's gonna happen again tonight. I had to find a way to escape. It wasn't possible to leave the house right now. At his speed, he'd probably already reached halfway. If I went out now, I'd run straight into him. I was just thinking of a plan when I heard footsteps from outside. Suddenly, I felt a pang of fear in my chest. The killer had reached the door. Mother stood up as before. It must be Uncle Sharma. I immediately interrupted her. Uncle Sharma has already gone to his relative's place. There's no good man outside. Both of you quickly hide and don't make any noise. With that, I quickly took Mother and Ria to hide in the bedroom cupboard. Suddenly, I realized something. How did the killer know there were only 3 of us in the house? It's New Year's Eve. Wasn't he afraid there might be others in the house? But there was no time to think about that. I immediately locked the main door from the inside. The cupboard only had enough space for 2 people to hide, so I had to hide under the bedsheet. A short while later, the killer burst into the house. When he found no one in the drawing room, he headed straight for the bedroom. I immediately sent a message to the police from my mobile. We just need to buy some more time. If we hold out, we'll definitely escape. As soon as the bedroom door opened, the killer slowly approached the bedsheet. I stopped. I could even hear his breathing. I silently prayed, don't look for me. Look for me. He stood there for about 5 seconds. Then, it seemed as if he didn't see me. He turned and left the room. I breathed a sigh of relief. But the next moment, I suddenly heard Ria's painful scream. I scurried out from under the bed. But it was too late. Both Ria and her mother had been murdered. Her mother, with her last breath, cried out, Rohan, run, run, run. Tears welled up in my eyes, and I ran with all my might towards the door. But it was too late. The killer grabbed me from behind and stabbed me straight through the body. When I opened my eyes, I was in the hospital. I was shocked. It's strange. I remember thinking I was dead. Did the police arrive in time? Did they save me? I was just thinking about this when my father standing next to me said excitedly, Rohan, son, are you okay? Rohan. I looked at him. Dad, I'm fine. I'm fine. His eyes filled with tears. I'm here, son. Dad is with you. There's no need to be afraid. I looked at him with panicked eyes. Suddenly, tears welled up in my eyes. Dad, where are Mom and Ria? Have they been murdered? Dad's face filled with sadness. He bowed his head and said nothing. Just then, a voice from the side interrupted our conversation. I'm sorry to interrupt your emotional meeting, but the situation is very serious. You have to remember immediately. I looked at him in surprise. What do you have to remember? Please tell me clearly. The man said, listen carefully. You haven't really woken up yet. Right now, you're under my hypnosis. Everything that just happened was your dream. The killer wasn't caught after the crime. All the CCTV cameras nearby were out of order. You're the only one who saw his face, Ace. I stared at him in disbelief. What did you say? So is this conversation we're having right now a dream? He said calmly. Don't panic. It's just a replay of memories. Try to see the killer's face clearly. Okay, now let's try again. Suddenly, my body began to fall backward. Slowly, my consciousness faded. When I opened my eyes again, I found myself back at home. Mom and Ria were happily eating dumplings just like before. I opened another dumpling, but this time the message on the slip inside had changed. Don't be afraid. This is all your dream. Try your best to see the killer's face. Now I understand. Why couldn't Mom and Ria see that slip? It was a message left just for me by Professor Kobodo. My eyes filled with tears. I struggled to hold back my tears. He wasn't taking aim. So, are Mother and Ria really dead? Is what's happening now just a dream? But even if I change this dream, I can't change the reality of their death. My heart ached at the thought. I angrily punched my thigh and tried to calm myself. I had to buy the killer time to enter the house. Only then would I be able to prepare adequately. I immediately called Mother and Ria and had them move the dining table. Then together, the three of us placed it in front of the main door. I nailed the table's legs to the door handle to make it difficult to break the lock. After that, I piled the sofa and other household items in front of the door. I thought even if he broke the lock, it would take him a while to move everything. But as soon as we moved away, the door suddenly burst open with a loud bang. I was stunned. The killer's target was clear. His every move was planned. This wasn't a sudden act. We were probably his pre-selected targets. I ran out of the kitchen like lightning. I picked up a metal ladle and engaged the killer in a deadly fight. I tried my best to remove his mask, but it seemed as if he knew my every move in advance. He was anticipating my every attack. In a short while, he pinned me to the ground. Then, as always, he killed me with a single blow. Then, an endless series of dreams began. I was stabbed again, countless times. No matter how long I struggled, the result was the same. I couldn't see the killer's face. When I woke up for the 100th time, I was in the hospital room again. Now I knew it was all an illusion. I still hadn't woken up. Dad and Professor Kapoor were standing by my bed. Both were looking at me expectantly. What happened? A face appeared. I shook my head in despair. No, he always wears a mask. I just can't remove it. Dad breathed heavily. The pain was evident in his eyes. He looked at Professor Kapoor. This is so cruel. Why not hypnotize? Let's stop here. But Professor Kapoor immediately refused. No, Rohan keeps telling the police that he saw the killer's face. He just can't remember it right now. The police have asked me to help him at all costs. Then he looked at me. There was conviction in his eyes. Rohan, I believe in you. You can do this. Try one more time. We are always with you. You are not facing this alone. Hearing his words, scenes of Mother and Ria's death flashed through my mind. I clenched my teeth. Then I nodded firmly. I'm not afraid. Let's try one more time. I woke up in front of the dining table again. But this time, my eyes suddenly fell on a small ventilation hole in the ceiling. It was so hidden that it couldn't be seen without looking carefully. This time, I hid Mother and Ria in the bathroom. Even though I knew it was all just a dream, I couldn't bear to see them die before my eyes again and again. After that, I curled up and went into that ventilation hole. He crept inside the pipe. Then I closed the ventilation cover and kept my eyes out. At that moment, the main door was opened delicately. The killer entered the house, a large knife in his hand. I cautiously stayed inside the pipe and peered down. The killer searched every corner of the drawing room, one by one. When he found no one, he moved towards the bedroom. I held my breath. As he reached just below the ventilation, I suddenly jumped from above. I grabbed him tightly and threw him to the ground. With all my strength, I turned his body and pulled off his mask in one swift movement. But as soon as I saw the killer's true face, the smile on my face froze. How could this be? Because there was nothing on the killer's face. No eyes, no nose, no lips, no other identifying features. His entire face was a blank white surface. I couldn't see his face at all. But before I could understand anything, the killer stabbed me straight through the chest, and in that instant, my consciousness was plunged into darkness. When I regained consciousness, my whole body was shaking. I could still feel the stab in my chest. Although it was just a dream, the pain I was experiencing was absolutely real. Father immediately came to me and began to comfort me. Rohan, son, are you all right? Professor Kapoor, on the other hand, was looking at me worriedly. Rohan, did you see his face? What did the killer look like? I asked in a tired voice. I had taken off his mask, but there were no features on his face. He had no face at all. I couldn't see his face. I asked helplessly, Professor, why did this happen? I had taken off his mask. Why was his face blank? Professor Kapoor remained silent for a moment. Then he said, it's not impossible. I guess you're not. That's why his face appeared blank, because your mind couldn't imagine that face. He further explained that according to Freud's theory, a person cannot create a face in a dream that they have never seen before. Your subconscious mind preserves images of all the people you've seen in life. But you can't conjure a completely unfamiliar face in your dreams. That's why the killer's face appears blank. Silence filled the room. Father exhaled deeply. Then he said softly, let's end the hypnosis now. I can't bear to see my son in this blinding agony anymore. Professor Kapoor looked at me. Rohan, what do you want? Do you want to give up now? I remained silent for a while. Finally, I reluctantly nodded. After so many hypnosis sessions, my mind felt numb. It felt as if someone had beaten my brain with a stick. My head ached terribly. Then my eyes suddenly opened wide. What had Professor Kapoor just said? A person can't conjure a face in a dream of someone they've never seen before. Suddenly I understood something. A terrifying and unbelievable thought flashed through my mind like lightning. Who was he? I slowly began to raise my head. A shiver ran through my body. So the thing is, now I know who the killer is. The killer knew a lot about our house, so much, maybe even more than I did. He knew that both Ria and I could hide behind the sofa. He knew that our closet had a secret compartment where people could hide. He also knew that only the three of us were in the house that night. It was all too coincidental, so much so that it was impossible to believe it was a coincidence. It could only mean one thing. The killer was someone very close to us. A terrible thought flashed through my mind. No, this can't be happening. My eyes turned red. My nails dug into my palms. At that moment, Dad looked at me in surprise. Rohan, what happened? Do you remember the killer's face? I said, looking him in the eye. Yes, but before I break the hypnosis, I want to ask you a question. What kind of question? Dad asked. Before asking, I replayed everything in my mind once again. Who could have known the layout of our house's 3 rooms and 1 hall so well? Who else but Dad? But if it was really him, why did he do this? He was most proud when Ria and I got good grades. When I started skating, he personally held my hand and taught me. On his wedding anniversary, he would take Mom out for an outing. The love on his face was absolutely genuine. There were countless memories. He loved us so much. So why would he do this to his own family? He was my father, our entire family's support, our strength, our world. I looked deep into his eyes. My throat choked. My voice trembled. Dad, where were you on New Year's Eve? Were you really out of town for work? Now I cared nothing else. I just wanted to know the truth. What could have driven someone to destroy their own family? My father was startled for a moment by my question. Then he gave a nervous smile. Rohan, why are you suddenly asking such a question? I had gone out for work, and the next day when I returned, I